Meeting recording has started.
Hello. Yeah. So, am I seen and audible, Raksha, so that I can start?
Yeah, perfect. Good.
Okay. Thank you. So, hello all. A very good afternoon, and myself Ekta Dubey, on behalf of the Brinalytics team and our partner Avaya India, we welcome you all and thank you so much for being part of our roundtable, which is CX Impact DigiTalks, Digital Transformation in CX. So before we start the roundtable, of course, we are aware of the guidelines that you need to be on mute and when the speakers are taking their respective session. Of course, we're gonna make it very engaging session with the Q&A as well. We have interesting panel speakers today and an interesting keynote from Arshdeep. So to start with, first I would like to introduce our partner Avaya India. To speak about them, businesses are built on the experiences they provide, and every day millions of those experiences are built by Avaya. For over 100 years, they have enabled organizations around the globe to win by creating intelligent communication experiences for customers and employees. Avaya builds open, converged, and innovative solutions to enhance and simplify communications and collaborations in the cloud, on premise, or a hybrid of both. To grow your businesses, they are committed to innovation, partnership, and a relentless focus on what's next. They are the technology company you trust to deliver your experiences that matter. We all understand today that businesses and organizations are always looking to enhance their customer experience strategies that helps in maintaining long-term relationship that attracts new customer and retain old ones. Today we have interesting insights which comes to understanding why the digital transformation needs to be placed at the customer's centricity today. So we have interesting insights coming on. Now to start with the first session, I'd like to welcome our keynote speaker, Arshdeep Chahal, sales engineer with Avaya. Over to you, Arshdeep, to share your interesting insights. And thank you for being with us today. Over to you, Arshdeep.
Yeah, thanks, Ekta. Let me just share my screen. Yeah, I hope it is visible to everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Raksha. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking out time from your busy schedules and joining this session today. So today we want to discuss about digital transformation, which has been taking place over the last 4 to 5 years across organizations. Right, all of us have seen that trend. But during the pandemic, we have seen that growth has really accelerated. It has seen an exponential increase. In That adaptation has gone well through the roof, right? And we would like to cover how Avaya is actually helping all these organizations to deliver that total experience to their end customers. Right, so let me dive directly into what are the key challenges which are being faced by organizations today. So starting with customer experience leaders, I think you're more aware than me in this field. So customer acquisition and retention is becoming a huge challenge in today's competitive world, right? So customers need to be satisfied, and the kind of service that we are providing to them, whether their queries are being handled, whether they are able to connect to the business through the channel of their preference, right? All of these options, whether we are able to provide to them as customer experience leaders or not, right? So these are the key challenges which are being faced. Then business continuity, right? That is also some one of the most important challenges which has come forward during the pandemic, especially, right? So irrespective of the location where your employees are based out of, that business has to be continued. Revenue cannot go down, right? So all of these challenges have to be complied with. From managerial point of view, if we see, if customers are trying to reach out to a business, long wait times, and whether employees are enabled, if they are working from home, whether they are enabled to answer their queries, right? Whether they have each and every resource available to them through which they can handle those queries of the customers, right? So the call handling times are going up. So all of these options are to be taken care of in order to deliver a proper customer experience. And from employees' point of view, if we see that we have seen very increased workloads, right? So we always keep on talking about customer experience, but employee experience is equally important, right? So from employees' point of view, whether they are able to answer those queries, whether they have those tools and applications at uh, do they have access to these applications to handle complex queries from customers, whether the tools which they are using, the user desktop, for example, agent desktop applications, can we integrate different tools which are required into that application so that they have easy access to all the questions that customers are going to ask them, right? Whether they are getting frequent coaching and training to answer these queries. So from employees point of view also, that employee experience is equally important as customer experience, right? From IT side, again, maintaining all these systems, and especially during the pandemic, for example, if people are working from home, ensuring that security as well. So all those employees need to connect to the office systems in a secure manner, wherein they need to ensure the security of data as well as that connection through which the people are joining in. They have to be secure as well as compliant with all the regulations, right? So what we can do to improve all these fields, all these options to provide enhanced customer experience, right? So today the kind of customers that we are dealing with, so most of us know that we are dealing with millennials now, and they have grown in this generation of digital touch points. They want all these channels at their in their hands right now through which they could contact a business. So what we call them is everything customer, right? Because they want to be connected to the businesses on their terms, right? So we want to create these memorable customer as well as employee experience, as I mentioned earlier. So customer experience is very important, we know, but employee experience is also equally important. And whether we are providing that employee experience, right? So through which they can actually help in increasing the revenue, help to answer the customer queries better, right? And what we can do that we can provide all these customers what they need in their way, right? So from Avaya's point of view, what all we focus on. So from essential customer experience point of view, so these are the four pillars of great service, right? Getting connected is one. So as I mentioned, from the generation of customers that we are dealing with, and even with the adaptation of technology, all customers, they want to get connected to a business through the channel of their preference, right? Earlier it used to be call centers, then it was voice only. The people and customers, they used to give a call to the business in case they had any query. Now they want that through social media, right? So that is something which is getting adapted very fast. So even in a while we have seen that a lot of customers are asking for social media integration, even though there are teams where some of the employees are taking care of social media interactions. But what if they want to uh, integrate those channels also in a systematic manner into the contact center, so that there can be detailed reports on the social media interactions as well. WhatsApp as a channel is becoming hugely popular, right? So it is pushing SMS out, and WhatsApp is becoming that mode of preference, channel of preference, wherein it is very easy to send a hi message, and whether it directly connects to the business or via a chatbot, we can actually handle the first level of queries. So getting connected is one is the first pillar of great customer service, wherein we are providing all these channels to the customers through which they can get connected to a business, right? Second is process orchestration. So once they have connected to the business, connected to an employee, and somebody is handling that interaction, how easy it is for an employee to actually answer that query now. So they will have to access, for example, a ticketing system or a CRM through which they can get information of the customer who is there in the interaction right then. So all this information, whether it is available at the hands of the employee or not. So are they facing any kind of issue in accessing that information, or are they taking too long a time to actually access that information? Right. So these are some of the processes which are important while handling a customer query, and whether our applications are ready enough to handle all those queries. Right, then managing resources. Now our employees are actually handling those queries, but managing employees based on their skill set, whether they are getting proper training, uh, whether we have proper workforce management solutions, and can we analyze the performance of the employees properly so that they can handle or they can contribute to the business properly, and what kind of trainings are needed at what point of time, right? So all of these components come under managing resources pillar. Then last is knowledge and insight. So we are collecting a lot of data on a day-to-day basis when we are interacting with customers, right? It's a lot of text via chat and email channels. It's a lot of call recordings when calls are being handled by the employees. We have all this data with us. Do we have enough or good enough applications to actually gain insights into that data? Can we analyze those recordings? Can we analyze those text, right? So that we can judge customer sentiment. Are the customers happy with our service or not? Or where do we need to improve in order to provide a better customer service and hence increase our revenues, right? So these are the four pillars for essential customer service. I would like to go a bit in detail for this. So on the left hand side, if you see getting connected, that includes all the channels which are available to us now, right? So voice is has always been there and will be the most important channel anyway. So in addition to that, what is coming into picture? There is chat and email, there's SMS messaging, then there is social media messaging, right? Then based on the skills of the agents, how we are routing those contacts to all the agents and employees, right? Whether we are connecting them to the right people or not, whether they have skills to answer those queries or not, right? So that is something which is very important. So even if as I was mentioning earlier, so social media is something which is becoming very important when it comes to a mode to for the customers to connect to a business, right? So they want to leave a message, they want to go to a Facebook page of a business and just leave a message there, right? So instead of creating or leaving those messages unseen, can we integrate them in a proper way to our contact center so that they are being handled by the agents? Also, when we have all these interactions integrated in a systematic manner, we can actually analyze all these conversations to see what are people actually thinking about our service, right? So whether we need to improve something, whether we need to add more employees to handle these queries, what is the volume that is coming in, right? So all of these channels become a part of getting connected fella, right? So once they are connected to an employee, so I would give an example of Avaya Workspaces solution here. They should have a modern employee and supervisor desktop wherein they can actually access all the information which is required, right? So it brings down the average handling time of an interaction. So when it comes to Avaya Workspaces, so as soon as a contact comes in, that can be an email, that can be a web chat, once it is assigned to an agent, right? So in the workspaces, automatically we can integrate the CRM. Automatically it gets a pop-up of the customer journey of that particular contact, right? So that this customer, these are the details, these are the open tickets, those that can also be integrated within the workspaces application. And we can introduce different kind of widgets as well, right? So that in case I took an example of ticketing system earlier, any homegrown application which you feel that your organization is using to answer customer queries, that can also be integrated as a widget within the workspaces application. Plus, agents would be able to see the complete customer journey, right? They can see, okay, at this point in time, they had sent one email. They can actually read that email. What was the query? Was it handled properly or not? Is customer complaining about a genuine reason, right? They can actually dig down into that information and see how they can help that customer out, right? And another thing in process orchestration which we can do is AI based agent assistance, right? Once the agent is actually searching for some keywords, or based on the chat interaction, for example, that they are having with the customer, within the workspaces application, we can actually give suggestions in real time based on what interaction is going on between the agent and the customer, right? So it actually helps in reducing a lot of time, and also from employee point of view, it actually helps them to address the queries better, right? And all our applications are actually they have open APIs, any kind of integrations which are there. We have ready connectors for CRMs, for ticketing tools, and any kind of customer feedback surveys. But in case of homegrown applications also, which might be very specific to a certain organization, those can also be integrated within a via applications. Right. Then third is knowledge and insights. It, I would say reporting is something which is very, basic and very important to an organization. So all the calls which are coming in, all the interactions which are coming in, they have to be reported properly. That is something basic and required from day one. On top of it, what we can do with that kind of reporting, right? Whether we can customize those reports or not, because there can be a very detailed reporting tool which is available, but those all those parameters might not be important for my business, right? So depending on what parameters are important to your organization, you can actually customize all these reports, right? And prepare dashboards accordingly, that if you can define those thresholds, that if certain for example handling time goes beyond a certain threshold, the time which is defined in the system, it should actually alert the supervisor or show an alert at the dashboard level, right? So these knowledge and insights are important, right? Then from a resources management point of view, we have very sophisticated workforce engagement solutions. That you can define KPIs of agents within those systems and see whether agents are performing up to the mark or not. And depending on now within workforce engagement, we can do text analytics and speech analytics and see what is the sentiment that is actually going on, and what where improvement needs to be done, right? So accordingly, coaching and learning programs can be defined for certain set of agents, right? And you can do rating for these agents and rate their performance accordingly. Supervisors can actually rate their performance, right? And everything can be reported in a systematic manner. So when it comes to Avaya, we are handling end-to-end uh, business, right? Depending on, as I was mentioning, four pillars of great service. All channels should be available for getting connected, for the customers to get connected. Employee experience should be good when they're handling those interactions. We should have detailed reporting and other applications available so that we can actually utilize the data which is coming in, right? So we keep on hearing the word data and AI. These are the buzzwords now. And whether we are using that data appropriately, whether we are, we have applications to enable us so that we can use that intelligence in improving our business going forward. Then we have complete workforce engagement solutions. Now, coming to what all channels we are actually integrating and what solutions are available. So, I'll give you a brief about it. So, for end customers, as I mentioned, it can be inbound voice. We have proactive outbound as well. It can be voice or other channels like email and SMS. Then for incoming, we have all the digital channels, as I covered earlier. Then we have web chat. Again, if we want to automate provide self-service in case of voice as well as digital channels, right? We can induce chatbots as well as self-service tools at the first level of interaction with the customer, so that certain calls or certain interactions which do not even need to go to an agent can be handled by the self-service tool itself, right? So leads to an increased efficiency, wherein a lot of interactions actually get serviced at the automation level itself, right? Same is the case with chatbot. And we also have speech bot solutions, wherein instead of typing or selecting DTMF digits at the IVR level, which can be frustrating for certain set of customers, we can also provide speech bots wherein the system is actually speaking out and interacting with the customer, right? In case they feel that, okay, now further set of queries need to be handled by a live agent, it can get transferred to a live agent also. Then, depending on the skill sets which are defined in the system, all the interactions are actually routed to an appropriate agent, right? Agents can see each other's presence in case they want to take an assistance from expert, right? right? They can take that expert into conference and actually address the queries and close the interaction there and then itself. Also, an important point is that it's not only for front office. All the via applications can actually handle all the back office employees as well. So they also need to have their own set of soft phones or hard phones and interaction sorry, the applications which they are using, collaboration applications. Everything can be integrated into a single system. And from deployment point of view, again, it is a very flexible solution. All our applications can be deployed on premise in a hybrid deployment where certain applications are on premise, certain applications are on cloud, or it can be a purely cloud solution as well. Right. So depending on the requirement, we can actually design all these solutions. Yeah. So I would like to cover a couple of applications. So otherwise, we have a lot of application suite depending on what is the requirement of the customer. We can customize our solution accordingly. But social media connectors are something which are very, very important these days. We are seeing that in a lot of interactions with our customers also. That WhatsApp, as I mentioned earlier, is something which has become very important or key to a business. Right? So WhatsApp connector or Facebook Messenger, Twitter direct messaging. So I've mentioned three logos here, but otherwise, Instagram direct messaging or any kind of social media which you want to be integrated with the business, it can be integrated, right? We have social media connectors available for all these applications. Again, for all these messengers, there can be separate chatbot flows which can be integrated, right? So if a customer is reaching out to you on WhatsApp, they simply need to say hi and it can invoke a chatbot and handle first level of queries there, right? And they can give an option of whether the customer wants to connect to a live agent, right? Then it gets escalated to a live agent. And likewise, similar flow or a different flow can be there on Facebook Messenger or Twitter Messenger. Then once an interaction is completed, customer feedback service is something which is again very important, right? So in that case, we can actually route all these calls to a customer feedback service solution. You can collect that feedback, check the NPS score. It will give you detailed reporting on that, whether customers are happy with the interaction or not, right? So those kind of applications can be created, and it's not only on voice. Again, all the digital channels can also be integrated, right? So customer feedback survey can be sent on WhatsApp or via email or via SMS. So all these channels can be integrated with it. Then from CRM integration point of view, we have ready connectors with all the famous CRMs which are being used by organizations today, be it Zoho, SAP, Salesforce, Freshdesk, and any homegrown CRM can be integrated with all of our applications. So Avaya Spaces is a collaboration tool on which we are connected right now, right? So this is something which is being used by us also now day in and day out. We have seen during the pandemic that everybody was working from home and we were connecting on Avaya Spaces only, right? So Avaya Spaces is a collaboration tool which can go up to 1,000 participants on a single meeting, right? And 61 participants can be on video simultaneously. Everybody gets a personal cloud meeting room, and they can create different spaces within their account. For example, I can be a part of my national team, my local team, then an international team. So there's no limit on the kind of spaces you can create. Plus, these spaces are not limited only within organization. And if, for example, a project is going on and we need to collaborate with an end customer also, so they can also become a member of a particular space, right? Their rights are limited to that space of which they are a member of, right? So those kind of spaces can be created. It's a persistent chat solution. Documents can be uploaded within a space, and there is unlimited storage, which is part of the spaces solution. Again, unlimited recording. All meetings can be recorded and stored within the cloud, and phone dial-in options are also available. So if somebody who wants to join a meeting, they are not available or they don't have proper data connectivity, in that case they can dial a toll-free number and enter their space ID and become a part of that call. So everything is included within that one license, right? and we are doing a lot of enhancements in this particular tool using AI, right? So if you see on this spaces tool, also on the left hand side, left below corner, you would be able to see AI noise removal, right? And this has been tested extensively. So people working from home, so there's a lot of background noise which is there, or even some construction work going on in the background. It cancels that noise very beautifully. So it focuses only on the speaker, right? That is something which is there. So my data connectivity was a bit low today. So there's another thing I'll show you after this presentation. AI immersive presentation is there. So presenter can actually overlay on top of the slides, right? So that is something which has been added using AI, right? So all these kind of options, and we are doing a lot of enhancements on this particular tool, and it's become very popular, right? So task management is also something which is important. So you can create a task, assign it to your team member, and you can actually follow up on that and allocate a deadline also, that it has to be completed by this so and so date, right? So all of these options are available within the spaces tool. Yeah, so let me quickly cover some of our existing customers and what they are doing and how they are using Avaya applications. Right, so this is an example of one of the largest e-commerce portals in India. Right, so they are using self-service automation. The one that we were talking about, calls are being handled on the self-service tool level itself, and during the peak volumes, right? So they are using SMS and callback option, right? On the IVR level itself, they can say, okay, that you have so and so waiting. Do you want us to call you back? Right? Customer can press a digit and register for a call back. Automatically, the system dials back. Whenever there is a gap, the system calls them back. Right? So this is used during the festival days and when they are handling large call volumes for sales and everything. Also, they are doing customer segmentation and routing of those particular customers based on business rules which they are defining in the system. And so they have identified that certain customers are important to them, which need to be handled by in-house agents, and system automatically, based on those business rules, can route those calls accordingly to in-house agents or outsourcers, right? So this is something which is being used by this customer. Now in edtech, we have seen a lot of organizations are coming up and they are growing, very fast. So this is for one of our existing edtech customer. Uh, the agents used to actually manually dial out to students, right, for all the courses or collections. So now they are moving to omni-channel approach. So one is for payment reminder in case a fee is due or payment is due from their end. So automatically the system, the proactive outbound solution which I was talking about earlier, so it sends an email or SMS 15 days before last date, right? Then IVR makes a automated call 7 days before that deadline, and agent makes a call only 2 days before that, right? So automatically a lot of calls are being handled. So most probably students actually pay their dues within the automated period itself, right? So only when the fee is has not come in even 2 days before the deadline, then only agent needs to make a call. It leads to a they have actually increased their efficiency a lot by implementing this solution. Right? Same is the case with when a new course has come in. They send out notifications using low cost channels like email, SMS. These are all automated systems. Right? Same is the case for omni-channel survey for each course. Right? So they are using outbound very beautifully. So manual calls are made only when it is very, very important, and then only agents are actually getting involved in the call. So last example I would take is of a fintech customer. So they have custom agent desktop with number masking, which means for their agents, they didn't want them to see customer numbers since they are into finance, right? So their data security is very, very important. So agent cannot see the dialed number at any point in the interaction, right? It's always must by the system automatically. Also, again, from outbound point of view, the system actually dials out for failed transactions before a customer calls, right? So during the system, whenever an sorry, uh, Whenever a transaction fails, the system dials out to them automatically, right? And it can automatically connect a merchant and customer without the contact center intervention, right? So agent does not need to intervene when there is any failed transaction. So I would like to sum it up saying from the first slide that we started, right? So today we are dealing with everything customers, right? So they want everything on their own terms. So use Avaya systems to do that, to help these customers and integrate all these applications together so we can enhance customer experience. At the same time, use Avaya systems to enhance employee experience as well, right? So they should have all those tools at their disposal. They should actually be making use of all the AI applications that we have to answer customer queries, right? And in the same manner, we can actually uh, make this customer and employee experiences better. Yeah. So that's all from my side. In case there are any queries, I'm happy to address. Otherwise, I would hand it over to Ekta.
Thank you, Arshdeep, for sharing your insights. So, as Arshdeep mentioned, do we have any questions? We can take one question, and then, of course, we have an interesting panel to share their wonderful thoughts on CX. So, any questions, you can just put it across to Arshdeep. I'll wait for a while.
Ashdeep, just one quick question on the AI side. Can you throw a little more light on, the AI capabilities? This is a fantastic, thing of noise removal that you spoke about. Are there more things that, Avaya thinks and does on the AI, specifically on the chat or the, non-voice side?
Right, right. Thank you, Mr. Fasia, for that question. So, from AI side, one is that from the collaboration point of view on the Spaces tool that we are connected on, AI noise removal is one. And within this, let me just share my presentation once again. If I can show you that AI presentation mode. Yeah, this is, yeah. So if you can see my video overlays on top of the presentation, right? So another thing that we are adding using AI in this is that if there are two presenters, so one presenter actually gets faded away when he or she is not speaking, and the other presenter gets highlighted, right? So this is from the collaboration point of view that we are doing. Then, in addition to that, on the contact center side, as I mentioned, if an agent is handling a text interaction, right, they are handling a web chat interaction, because most of, if we see the email, chat, all kinds of social media messengers, so they come under text interactions, right? If customer is asking a question for a certain around a certain topic, so what our applications can do is suggest to the agent those articles from within the from an in-house knowledge tool or from the web, wherein that information can be required by the agent. Okay, let me take an example here. If a customer is calling an airline, right, whether they are allowed to carry a baby of a certain age, whether they need to buy a ticket or not, right? So agent is actually handling that text interaction. At the same time, backend tools are working to suggest to that agent from their internal applications that this is the answer of that query. It will not give a specific answer, but it will fetch out that information which agent needs to otherwise search for manually. Yeah, so these kind of applications we are and on top of that we are doing a lot of text analytics also to judge sentiments of the customers and how we can improve the customer service on top of it.
Okay. Uh, so I guess your question was answered. So now moving on, I think we had hard stop at 4 p.m. So we should move to a roundtable discussion. So the roundtable discussion is basically on driving revenue through CX, placing customers at the center of digital transformation. And first, I would like to introduce all our thought leaders. We have Mr. Sashank Sinha, AVP Strategy with Digit Insurance, Ms. Meera Sangvi, Lead RPA with HP, Mr. Fasia Abbas, Director and Head of Customer Success with Cash Free, Mr. Prashant Sharma, Customer Experience Leader with Gamescraft, Ms. Goldie Paul, Business Lead and Digital Lending with Credit Mantri, Mr. Saurav Ganguly, Head CX Asia Pacific with Lenovo India Private Limited, and Mr. Satwik Vishwanath, co-founder and CEO with Unicoin Technologies Private Limited. And I have along with me my co-host, Mr. Bhavesh Vora, Sales Engineering Leader with Avaya India. So now we had set up certain questions and we had discussed in the group. Now, moving on to a first question that we had was on turning challenges into opportunities while going digital. And we have Meera Sangvi from lead RPA with HP, who would be sharing some interesting insights on this. Meera, over to you. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Ekta. Just to confirm, you can hear me clearly?
Yes, Meera, we can.
Thank you. So I think that was a great presentation, by the way, and I, for one, learned quite a great deal about Avaya. So thank you so much for enlightening us. In today's world, to answer the question that I think Ekta has raised is very interesting, and I think time and again we do face it. In terms of how do we convert our biggest barriers into opportunities. And some of the biggest barriers, especially with transformation, that come to my mind over the years that I have been associated with transformation has been the fact that there wouldn't be enough budget, the strategy is not in place, the organization structure doesn't support it, the lack of expertise. Because when you start with a niche, at least when we did, I know for a fact we struggled to find resources who came with that background as well. And of course, the pushback that, what if tomorrow the transformation and in that sense, automation and all of this is going to take away my job. I think it's very, very important for us to put aside the psychological and career risks that are associated with challenges. And there are two ways to go about it, which is to do tops down and to create, the whole opportunity for all of our employees to look at how they can look at possible solutions with really high energy. So, which means that you can make mistakes, you're allowed to give as many ideas as possible, be as daringly innovative as possible. So that happens tops down because it becomes a part of the strategy, it becomes a part of the DNA of the organization. At the same time, there are also ways where it can happen from bottoms up, while the tops down is always very, very important, but even the bottoms up, that's where we introduce things like the citizen led development, or the fact that how automation can be done at a root level. And there are enough and more than enough free resources that are available. So not putting restrictions that it has to be only this or it has to be only that, but opening up a suite of offerings that we can give to our employees and say, go ahead and learn this entire curriculum, go ahead and figure out an automation that actually helps you. Even if it gives you productive personal time, that's perfectly fine, but we want to see you start thinking in the transformation journey. And I think that is where I feel is the biggest key. We need that mindset change, and that can happen through, like I mentioned, tops down and bottoms up. At the same time, I think it has to become eventually a part of the understanding that even though the job pyramid will change, doesn't mean jobs basically go away or something. It's just that you're doing more important things, you're doing more smarter things, you're doing more thoughtful things that you never had time for. So that's something that I think even the education, just the creating of awareness how digital transformation can play for people is really, really important. So yeah, with that, I think I give it back to you, Ekta.
Mm. Thank you so much for your insights. Anything anybody would like to add here, or we can move quickly to the next question? Bhavesh, any thoughts, or you would want me to move?
No, it's fine, Ekta. I think let's go ahead. Yes.
Okay.
Thanks, Mira. Yes.
So now the next question that comes is like creating an exceptional service culture and delivering a transformational customer experience. So to share insights on this perspective, we have Satvik Vishwanathan, co-founder and CEO with Coin Technologies, and also Mr. Prashant Sharma, customer experience leader with Gamescraft. So starting with Satvik, over to you, Satvik, to share your thoughts. And thank you for being here. Satvik, are you there?
I can see him joining.
Yes.
He's there.
Okay, so meanwhile, Prashant, can we have your thoughts? I will just speak to Satvik. Yeah.
Sure. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
Ekta, can you just quickly repeat that? There was some noise at my end. I think I could not hear the question fully. If you could just
No
quickly
problem.
repeat that.
Yeah, so Prashant, we had a question on creating an exceptional service culture and delivering a transformational customer experience. Your thoughts on this?
Sure. So, you know, I think there are multiple facets to this. I think it starts right from the way an organization, looks at the whole service piece, right? So, we have to understand that delivering great customer service is not only one department's job, it's the entire company's job. I think that's very, very important, and which I think a lot of companies, a lot of leaders miss that fact. So it's very, very important to align different teams, different parties, and different stakeholders to this. And so, as a part of my experience, something that I kind of focus on is first to kind of try and align the different leadership, that what is our goal, right? From a customer experience or from a customer service perspective, what is our goal? What is that our customers want? I think that definition is very, very important. Who are our customers? Where are they? And because there's no one rule fit all policy, right? So you may have different segments of customers. They may have different preferences, and the kind of channels, for example, the kind of channels that you want to look at, that may not work for them, right? For example, I've been a part of online gaming for the past decade now. uh, uh, and most of the places, the kind of customers that we target, and those are our target audience, are mostly from tier 2, tier 3 cities. So what we have realized very early on, that things like email doesn't work with them, right? So most of them prefer talking to some human, right? In fact, voice is the most preferred one, followed by chat, and then email is, I would say, not the most effective medium, right? So I mean, the first point is to understand what your customers need. Where is it that they see friction in the way where they communicate, and then figuring to identify all of these challenges, then design the entire strategy with your leadership team and align everybody else. While we might say ki, okay, there might be friction where we want to solve, there might be say technical issues where you may want to kind of ease off the user, I would say, frustration. So one is like a short term solution that you kind of do, okay, quickly resolve the problems, but then what do you look at a longer term? So I think leaders should kind of focus on both these aspects. One is from a leadership perspective, how do we align the different teams? And that's what I personally do, and in all the organizations that I've been a part of. That first is a clear alignment of, these are our customers, and if we all align to it, this is the way that we are going to, offer them a great service. And of course, we'll create milestones around, how do we go about it. That's one. And second, I think from an employee perspective, I think it's very important to align them to what you are trying to do and why you are doing what you're doing, right? Because when you talk about strategies, I mean, it's great to discuss them, in different meetings, but then when it eventually tapers down to the end folks who are doing it, they don't understand all of this, right? For them, it's about XYZ KPIs that I'm going to meet, and if I do that, I get my day done, right? So very, very important to align your leaders at different stages. Have very strong touch points around how do you make sure that the right communication is going at each levels. And I think the third very important part is great data analytics, right? So when I say analytics, I'm not talking about the usual metrics that we talk about. These are also around looking into deeper insights around the whole consumer behavior, how it is working, what is leading to what. You might end up saying that, okay, this number is going down, but it may be a reason of two, three more different aspects, and that is what we need to look at. Uh, in very traditional organizations, if you see, there's a very common term used as MIS, right? So the MIS term is usually around somebody who churns out reports and chalo, let's watch this and let's figure out things. But nowadays, if you ask me, the very important bit is to do a deeper business analysis, right? Not only data analysis, but a business analysis. And CX per se is a department in itself. As I said, it's not one team's role. The entire organization has to be a part of it. And to make people aware of the impact, I think it starts with us, the leaders who are driving this culture. So I think a deeper focus on the right business analysis, figuring out what are the pain points, not only the regular matrices that we talk about, but also like different side metrics which the customers may never talk about, right? But those are things that you would see which is causing issues. I'll give you a small example. So we offer the Indian rummy game, right, online. So one of the key aspects from an experience perspective is for people to be able to very seamlessly sit on the game tables and be able to play and against each other. So one of the metrics that we kind of measure is at what speeds are the different tables allocated, how quickly are people able to sit against each other. While you might say this may be a product metric, but from a CX perspective, we even look at this, right? And around this, we try and match all the feedbacks that we kind of get from users and try to collate with this. The second thing that we also look at is the kind of win ratios, right? Why I'm saying this is that from an experience perspective, if people are seated, I mean, if you kind of align people in the right way. I mean, if there are beginners, if there are oldies, you need to ensure that you are aligning them on the right table so that they can have a great experience on the platform. So in terms of percentage of winners, how many people are coming back, and what are the drop rates on the table, how many people are reassigning on a different table. These are also the metrics that my team looks at, right? So as I said, we have to align with these different matrices which are critical from an overall experience perspective, agree on them. And I think one of the great strategies that I have seen work with me is that you have joint matrices
Hmm.
along with the other stakeholders, right? So when you say, I need to improve these matrices, it is not only this team's responsibility, but there is an organization responsibility also, and hold people accountable, right? I think that is a very important change that I think I'm sure many other leaders would anyways be doing it, but that will be one of my suggestion to everyone, that please try and drive this culture, which will be very, very effective and important to be able to take your customer support experience to a next level. That was from my side.
Thank you,
Yeah, I
Prashant.
think, I think Prashant, thanks very much. I think very good insights, very relevant for the gaming industry. A lot of us do play online games, and I do understand. I think it's good. So you are right. I think the MIS, customer experience, data, it's all linked to each other. Nothing can work in silos. Yeah. I just want to come back. I think, Ekta, if I can just take a minute. A
Of
previous
course.
question, I think Fuzzy had asked about AI. So I just want to say, from in Avaya, what we are doing is we are pushing all the AI capabilities on the cloud. So when I say it goes on the cloud, what happens is today, I think Arshdeep mentioned about the bottom left, you have a AI noise removal problem. So we have a lot of users coming from mobile, very old laptops, new computers. So what happens is, if I give the AI capability on the desktop itself, on the application, it takes a lot of computing power. So what we have done is this AI capability, we have pushed it in the cloud. Even that immersive AI presence, if you want to put a artificial background, or if I want to put a blurred background, all those things, we are pushing it on the cloud. So automatically it is available to everybody. I don't need extra compute on any device that I use. So, that is where, push more and more things towards the cloud and make things easy for the user. Yeah. Oh, please. Just I thought I'll add on what Fuzzy had asked.
Hey, thanks,
Yeah.
Bhavesh. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, we've connected earlier as well. So
I
it's
remember.
nice to
Yes,
know you
Fuzzy.
for this.
Yes.
Yes.
Nice meeting again.
Yeah, same here.
Um,
So
so
what I think this is good. I think let's get more use cases from your companies whenever somebody's contributing. So it helps everybody. I think there's a good learning from online gaming. We would love to hear about the other verticals as well. Yes, Ekta, over to you.
Yeah, so we again have Satvik. Satvik will be sharing his insights on this. Satvik, am I audible? And if you
Yeah,
can
yeah,
just.
yeah. You're audible. Yeah.
Okay.
So pretty much I've ended up in a unfavorable situation, but anyway. So see, I come from a cryptocurrency exchange background, right? So as you may anticipate, first for people to even understand what exactly this cryptocurrency itself is a huge bottleneck. It is not like okay, people understand what is food, so they understand Swiggy. It's not like people understand a product, they understand Amazon. So it's not like that anymore. So here the efforts to make them get acquainted with what we are trying to say goes on from saying how simplification we can do for our customers to understand what our business is about. And then comes the need for them, right? So we have to, on one side, explain what it is, and on the other side, make them feel that, okay, this is something good over a period of time through education and constant communication and acquiring touch points, etc. So once that is achieved, because I'm coming from a you know, kind of it's kind of a like fintech company. So as soon as people do any kind of transaction, um, they instantly want to see the results, right? So maybe let's say they're depositing money, which could take about 3 working hours. So people won't have that kind of patience, and so that is like one another challenge for us. And then comes the different relationships we will have to maintain because we operate in the unregulated space. So then there are banks, etc., and then KYC verification vendors, etc. So where it's always challenging, and the terms with them keeps changing. And on one side, we even need to change the KYC verification vendors, etc., so that the experience that one customer got, and just like after 1 week, another customer, the experience that he's getting is very different altogether. And on our side, we need to keep on modification and keep on having the developments in place, which actually makes it comparatively challenging for us to focus solely on the customer experience. It's not like okay, once we build the e-commerce platform, which is like 90% of the work is done, and then we concentrate more on sales and marketing. It doesn't work that way. So it significantly is like on every front, irrespective of whether your product is completed or not, you have to keep working on the product, you have to keep working on the customer experience. All of them will continue happening almost forever. So here in this kind of situation, yeah, so whatever we have created include the customer care bots where customers will be able to ask questions directly about their transaction, and there are API calls which the bot will do to our servers to answer them and such. And then beyond that, it gets connected to a customer desk agent, and even if that doesn't get solved, it eventually goes up to the like a phone call to them. So on the other side, me being a CEO and the other co-founders as well, we constantly keep on taking AMA sessions because we totally understand there will be some frustrated customers who could not get their issues solved at the customer care itself, and maybe that won't come up to us because the customer care executive would have marked it as a solved issue, saying that this is what we could do and we cannot do anything else to sort this out, kind of thing. So whenever those happens, we encourage them to come up to the ask me anything conversations we have on Twitter and Zoom, say once in a week or once in 2 weeks. And we encourage our customers to ask the question so that we make a note of their user IDs and what exactly is the concerns and try to solve it so that we give even the last resort option for them to help them get their issue solved. If we cannot do it, we cannot do it anyway. But we don't. We don't let go of a customer because our customer care executive was not able to solve the issue. So and then we had to integrate the chatbot not only with our application but with Telegram and Twitter as well. So that kind of have very much spread out the horizon of how much touch points we will have to give to our customers, and that significantly have increased our work as well. But it is becoming like a common practice for a lot of customers to just ask questions anywhere and everywhere. So they don't think that okay, I have to write it for support at the company.com, or they don't think that okay, we'll have to call to a particular number. So the questions would just come randomly anywhere out of say about 6 7 8 social media channels in which we are present, and they expect the issues to be solved by us looking at all the channels responses, right? So for example, it could just be like one blog post that we would have done, for which you would have put a Facebook post saying that, okay, I mean, this is something interesting to read, you can read it. But in the reply for that, there will be a customer talking about his grievance. So these things become like extremely tough for us to handle. And so we had to take a lot of interns who will eventually help us with these kinds of like difficult, difficult, say difficult to reach kind of touch points. And then we are able to sort it out. So yeah, these are the quick highlights that I wanted to give, at least from the crypto industry background, which is kind of most complicated, I think. So it's being one side it is money, and it's one side it's unregulated, and the other side too difficult to understand. So all the difficulties are, we feel like just upon us as a company, and yeah, so it is just like a ongoing struggle, like a soldier, to keep getting it done. Yeah, thank you for allowing me to express my views. I'll actually have to. I have a other thing to take care of here, but yeah, that's pretty much. I answered multiple questions, I think, but anyway, so
Yeah.
those are my views. Okay,
Yes,
thank you
No,
so
no.
no
much.
problem. No
Satvik,
problem.
thank you very much for the insights. I think it looks like you are somewhere in Kashmir or Switzerland, or I
No,
don't know.
this is Switzerland.
Switzerland.
That's correct. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I am
you're
with the
going to
rest of
cool
the team.
yourself.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I am with the rest of the team, so I cannot even stop at one place. So I have to
No
be
Very
problem.
walking and
nice.
talking. Yeah, yeah. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
allowing me to expressing my views. Thank you. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So moving on to a next interesting question, like how has customer services been affected by the pandemic? Are companies changing their customer service strategy? And what has your company done, like doing with use cases? So if you can elaborate on the channels of the customer services, use of digital buzz like cloud, social media, security, and compliance in the back office. So for this, we have Sashank Sinha, AVP Strategy with Digit Insurance, who would be sharing some insights on this. Over to you, Shashank.
You asked Shashank, right?
Yes, Shashank Sinha, if you can, are you facing some technical issue on that? What we can do is, meanwhile, let's Shashank figure out some issue. We can have Goldie, who would also would like to share our insights. Goldie Paul,
Hello.
business. Yeah, sorry, Shashank. Yes.
Hi, I'm not sure what happened. The mute option on the screen went off.
No problem.
Okay, hope you guys can hear me now. So
Yes, you are.
I'll
Please share it.
restart. Yeah, I'll restart. So I was trying to highlight is the insurance industry in itself is very critical for customer experience, especially because we are dealing with people from whom we have taken money to insure them, and they need us right now to help them whenever the claim is arising, right? So the first aspect that customer experience that has to take care of is the empathy part itself. Somebody is in hospital, needs immediate approval. Somebody's car has broken down, they need an approval to get the car repaired. So empathy becomes critical and critical part of our customer experience. And technology will deploy, right? It will be very difficult to bring that personal aspect. It's very important for centers to be trained in a manner that they are able to customers who are having some problems and help them in time and within the stipulated given tat that we have promised to them. Next part that is becomes critical is the process itself, right? There are a lot of new areas that are coming up where AI is being enabled, like chatbots, right? Voice recognition, sentiment analysis. All of this is flowing into the way we are managing customer experience. During the pandemics, one of the things that happened was face-to-face interaction went down. Right? Let's imagine any of our partners sitting across India, right? And they to talk to the customers, meet them to sell them, That is not possible in a pandemic. How do we enable our partners to do more in a situation where they don't have the technology to do business and they may not have enough to do this? So we integrated services about our customers, partners, raise, create codes, see the details of the policies, etc.
I think we lost him.
We lost him. Yeah.
No problem. So meanwhile, we have Goldie from Credit Monthly. Goldie, if you
Yeah,
can
hi.
share your thoughts. Yeah.
You guys can hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, glad to see a lot of insights coming in and, to put your question in perspective. So, I'll give you a background because I've been in the finance banking industry as well as now this fintech, and I deal with a lot of lenders. So, when it comes to, a pre-pandemic era, we would like to, differentiate financial sector as, a traditional banking system, and those organization. Let's think about how can my employee work from home. It was always, yaar bhai tere ko, you want to access customer data, you want I want highest levels of security, you please come into office and you get accesses to your crms and etc only on the local network. There's no chance of seeing accessing at home. So when the pandemic hit, it was like overnight, Arey, how if I have to get my work done from my employees, I need to check this employee experience. They have to get access to their CRMs, and this was it was managed very in most of the banks. Suddenly you started getting laptops. So some of these third party employees who worked internally for us never had laptops. They started issuing laptops to them. So looking at whether they have the infrastructure at home, so taking up a cloud space or server space was now the need of the hour at that point of time. So pre-pandemic, the discussions in strategy and boardroom meetings for innovation once in a quarter, once in a half year would be: do we have the server capacity, or oh, we should invest more in our infrastructure. Let's do some surveys for customer experience. But here you were stuck with you have to do it today, otherwise you are losing the game. And there comes in, I think, people like Avaya and all other people who already had these innovations and these digital things in place, which just now wanted these banks and these financial organizations, they had just had to adopt them. So I think in terms, it's as early as I'm saying Jan 2020, there were organizations or banking sector where customer, if they had to close an account, had to do it by sending a mail or coming in person to the branch and to be there in physical presence to close their accounts. But today you have to you have two-step authentication. I know of digital lenders to ensure a higher level of security, instead of just clicking an image, are also taking live images on their form to ensure that the customer is present in front of their mobile. So that's kind of how this whole thing has shifted 180 degrees from what was in 2020 start to 2021 start. um, and yes, of course, use of analytics in terms of understanding where your customer is, what is he doing. So in terms of customer experience at our end, uh, it's now not a a monthly discussion of how the customer is behaving on your platform. It's a literally daily discussion. Did you see heat maps? Did you see hot jars? Where is the customer stuck? Why can't we make this three-step process into a one-step process? Why not get, and of course when you do that, you're also looking at a revenue angle, so you get more stickiness from the customer, and that increases revenues automatically. Yeah. These are some of my insights that I would like to share.
Thank you. Thank you, Goldie. Over to you,
Yeah.
Mr. We also have Mr. Saurav Ganguly from your insights on this, please.
Oh, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear.
No, thank you. So a very interesting topic going on. I'm very excited,
Yes.
though we have running out of time, I feel. So I quickly tell you about this challenge, right? Everybody faced this personally and professionally. In Lenovo, being a very large organization, BAU in is equal to BAU output was a more of the normal way of managing things. And as in I feel the pandemic itself moved us from normal to this situation where we started adapting a lot of differential service experiences and translated those challenges into the opportunities of success. So what happened, if I just look back 2 years back, when we usually do the planning for next year and adapted certain areas of improvement, we never thought of that people will work from home. But when the Q1, when the pandemic pushed us back, then we immediately moved to that model. And obviously there's some advantage of us because a lot of internal device usage, this solution available with our internal team, the IT team and the technical team, all they can work together, and we are able to move our 1,000 plus employees in India and almost 600 700 employees more than that from KLCC in Malaysia, in Japan also to a certain extent some people moved out to their home, and we ensured that they're through a right VPN, light security, and things moved in the right direction. And when we found that the millenniums will be not will be so serious about handling the customer calls, the coaching will be more serious, and there'll be a lot of dropouts, or the average handling time and other KPI parameters of these contact center may get affected. But we saw that when we strategically took up three areas of importance. One is the people centricity, the second one is the location independence, and the third one is the resilience delivery. So from the people centricity perspective, the team leaders, the tower leaders, the CEC managers, in fact they rolled out very well defined programs to engage and encourage the people to be on call and manage things while they are at home. They're bachelors, most of them, they're managing things from their own. So their gamification process came into the picture. Then we adopted a process called a reward and recognition process. We developed a portal where app-based and web-based services were, the knowledge base was integrated. The certification program through that. E-coaching came into the picture from the train the trainer team, and along with that, the soft skill, the HR came into the picture to help with lot of in-house developed topics to be shared to boost their morale and bring them back to the the speed they want to deliver, and bring them a growth mindset in that phase of time, whether these people should not go out, lose their hopes, and be with the time. And location independent also helped us, because if you see Lenovo being a company where we deliver a lot of product lines starting from smartphones, servers, desktops, notebooks, and tablets and all. So what happens is the delivery mode is multifold. In fact, we have on-site, we have carry-in, we have depot services, we have customer, replaceable units. So across Asia Pacific, I have seen a lot of challenges came in that to deliver those. And there also, the team came up with very good ideas which got implemented in the phase of time. Like we use the app to enable through a repair on wheel processes in the last mile to connect the last mile, the geocentric service delivery with the pin code and geo mapping was done in some locations to ensure that the pandemic, non-pandemic, containment and non-containment zones were segregated and service was delivered. In fact, we also identified some extended business hours and weekend services with for certain customers, because if we divide the segment consumer and commercial, commercial also started behaving like consumers because they all moved to their work from home scenarios. So in that phase what happened is a lot of support went back to their home service, like other than the IT based services in STPIs or tech park zones. So those type of things started working very well. We introduced the e-ticketing attachment through a CRM in the system, so that the customer can log their own calls, and the callback mechanism was arranged from the system, linking the bot. We call it Lina, and we also aligned our self-help services through a Vantage tool, which was embedded in the most of the Windows-based machines, and customer can use that to connect back to the system. Now, coming back to this is overall was a when we look back the challenges to the improvements what you gathered from the AI and ML engine integration. We did persona based AI modeling where we can do different touch points. Like some customers are knowledgeable, technical, some customers may not be. So we faced a challenge there. We tried to route the right set of technicians and agents and engineers to meet those customer demands at that certain point of time, so that the right interaction happens and the routing happens to the right way, so the experience does not get affected. We also tried an AI based prediction model for escalations, where uh, there is a customer care cell in every country, every geo, every region. Their management, from social media to email channel to chat, they wanted to have all those built into one system. And we bought a predictive model where we used to give a system generated real-time information to that team to handle those customers proactively rather than reactively. So that also helped to minimize the impact during this pandemic. And another thing which is very interesting is we were always looking at customer experience journey into three areas of focus areas. Basically, one is the effort, and the second is the effectiveness of service, and the third one is the ease of service. So when we plot that and keeping the customer in between, we had a obviously a survey delivery model is always on, but the closed loop process was earlier more reactive mode. Now we thought of that, okay, and now in this pandemic phase, this was more important to make it more realistic to the customers to give a real-time experience. So we made a proactive model with the ML engine, like identifying the serial number of the machine, what type of customer background the location is, there's any seasonality impact or not. We did a usage survey also to this and attached to the system. Like in some countries, the customer using machines more than 6 7 hours. In India, we have seen customer using more than 14 15 hours. And there a lot of user behavior changed, and based on that, the aging of the product starts becoming more faster. So that also impacted some areas of service delivery. So that is the way I think things moved on, and we feel that we did a lot of innovations and transformations which is supposed to be done without this challenge, but this challenge pushed us to do that in a very short period of time, and that was a great learning.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Saurabh, for sharing your insights. Uh, so now, again, we have Mr. Sashank who has joined us. So, in the best interest of time, I would like to move to the fourth question, where again we will have insights from Shashank and Mr. Saurabh. So, the fourth point that we would like to discuss is the adoption of AI, ML, and automation in CX and EX. Are these still a buzzword, or is it becoming a reality? So if you can share some examples, your company's perspective or experiences. So over to you, Mr. Sashank, if you can some share some perspectives here.
Hope you can hear me this time.
We can, but
But your voice is cracking a lot. I suggest you to
Hi.
switch off the camera.
yes,
Yeah, I've done that. I've switched off my camera.
now you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
see.
Yes. Okay. Sorry about the previous instance. So I'll quickly take this question. A lot of these words are being used in the industry where people don't really understand what is AI, what is ML, right? Not every chatbot which is written on if then else statement is AI, right? But there are companies who are using real technologies of AI to deliver service, right? There are a lot of chatbots out there who are integrated with customer data, who can customize the way it talks uh, to the customer questions in the manner they understand the customers, right? So that it is happening. These words are being used. Um, these technologies are being used in the industry across. A few examples I can give is one of the use cases is coming in the way interactions are happening. So AI based bots, voice assistants, and uh, some companies are even using voice assistants which can engage with customers with emotion, which is very critical, which I was trying to highlight in the previous question, that empathy is very critical. So that's also taking care in some short, right? A lot of effort is going into process improvement as well, right? At Digit, we are enabling a lot of these technologies in real time, right? Be it policy issuance, less than 1% of our policies are issued manually. Rest all is through technology in some form. We have an AI bot, right, named Arya, which can take requests for quotes of complex policies like GMC and give quotes in real time. Right. We have lot of bots running across the organization to reduce the TAT of civil services like pre-inspection, claims processing, etc. Uh, so these technologies are there in market, and yes, we are using it, but people have to really understand what is what and what is the difference between use of AI versus use of automation. Over to you, Ekta.
Thank you. Mr. Saurav, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, just as I was mentioning, right, the AI and what was uh, implemented in in-house process. So two, three things I want to add up here is when we were looking at the wave one and wave two phase, the knowledge base was in this cloud, obviously, but the alignment was not so well done. It was more manual feed and some of the analytics field, to the system. But later on, when we understand that the ML engine can help us a lot, like example, I was mentioning about the serial number of the machine, the failure rate, the number of cases aligned to that serial number earlier in the history of failure, and any issues related to any specific field replaceable unit for that particular machine, or any usage pattern specific to any seasonality or any country or any user base. So those inputs, when it started feeding in on real time basis, it started giving up some values, and we translated that value through our CRM, so that the agent can have a real time view of those values, and from the values they can decide what type of experience they can deliver to the customer on a real time basis. It can be the customer's persona also gets mapped to that, and we have a broader bifurcation of customer persona based on this. I want to touch upon one more point here. When we did some analysis internally, we also found that the number of meetings and the engagements has increased, and that has resulted in little bit of fatigue in some regions, some productivity. So what we have done some automation, a small automation within the system, so that the reporting, like in Power BI, we did some dashboards reporting, our presentation mode of reviews in our business management system started reducing the number of hours, and the engagement has reduced. We have removed lot of unwanted team members, and become the meeting become more specific to the system. And also we tried certain engagement activities, like Friday evening to Monday morning. If we have internally the worldwide calls or the Asia Pacific calls should not be there. There should be some time for people to think and deliver for their own businesses. And also some conferences, we did a partner conference, vendor conference online last 2 years. We never thought of doing those things earlier in our Lenovo history, but that was a great experience. And after doing that, we were maybe the leaders started thinking, why spending so much of money earlier? But we did a lot of award related activities also, spending and routing those monies back to the right way of doing things, and that gave us a good result. In fact, that encouraged our HR team also to take up some wellness programs, the CSA programs during this pandemic for some of the schools, some of the knowledge based learning processes, and that also helped a lot of people spend their weekends to help the society. So so that engine worked quite well, and the analytics give out of the box initiatives also, rather than in the mainstream actions.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Saurav. So now we still have three more questions to go, and requesting everybody to stick to the time, considering the hard stop. So the next question we have is for Mr. Fasih Abbas and Mr. Prashant Sharma. Like understanding organizations' need for monitoring, tracking the right metrics, and optimizing CX across every point of contact. So your thoughts, Mr. Fasiha, I would first like to invite, and then we can move to Mr. Prashant.
Yeah, thanks for that question, Ekta. Ekta, I think what is happening with most organizations is, organizations have always thought that customer experience actually starts from the point where the customers or the merchants actually reach out to the organization with a problem, right? I think the dimension has to change. The organization should start thinking that customer experience actually starts from the very beginning of the journey, right? So I would like to say that you should the metrics should not be only post the merchant or the customer reaches out to us and gauging how good or how efficient we are there, right? But we should actually look at how the product or the entire function itself is performing. So let me just talk about a few things that most digital organizations or e-commerce organizations, you could say fintech organizations, could actually adopt to and get better in terms of customer experience when they can actually track these kind of metrics, right? First of all, I'm sure a lot of the organizations are already tracking the uptime, right? And some of the startups may have not been very serious about looking at what is the percentage uptime that they are able to manage on their app or on their website, and if it is as per the industry best, or are they performing much lower than that. That is the entry point. If your app isn't working at all, or if your app isn't firing up, then the experience is really bad. So that is one thing. The second thing is, if the app is down or the website is down, are they alerts going out, or are there downtime notifications and uptime notifications actually pushed to the merchants and to the customers? It's very important. And you should be also looking at what percentage of accuracy we are able to build over here in terms of pushing these communications. For example, let us say that B2B space, there are certain dashboards, merchant dashboards, or there are certain applications that you expose to merchants. And if let us say that that particular product is down, how are you actually communicating that well on time? Are you sending alerts? Are you sending any kind of notifications? And how accurate are they? How timely are they going out is also very, very important. And let us say that the app is working or the website is working, and part of it is not working. Okay, there's some issue. Let me call this second part as the success rate, right? What is the success rate that the organization is actually tracking? How many of the transactions are getting through successfully, versus how many are actually failing, and how many of these transactions are actually going into a processing or a pending state. That these are things that need to be actually tracked, and the organization needs to keep getting better and better. If you see that the percentage of success on the transactions is pretty lower compared to what the market standards are, you need to actually up the game. You need to get better there, right? And specifically on the transactions, or any kind of orders that on the e-commerce sites do not get processed completely, they are in the processing state or in the pending state. uh, you know how are we actually tracking them? How are we actually ensuring that they actually get to an end terminal state? And are they actually turning into an end terminal state well on time, or as per the desired time that we actually expect that to happen? Are we actually doing enough communication to the users saying that, hey, we're so sorry that this particular transaction has gone into pending, or it's in a processing state, and are we this is going to take so much time, And let us say it is going to take 48 hours, then within that 48 hours, if it is getting resolved, are we then going back timely and keeping them informed that, hey, what, your transaction has either failed or has gone through successfully, and this is the reference number, right? And what is the accuracy at which, what is the efficiency at which these things happen needs to also be measured, right? What I spoke about just now is more or less the forward leg, where where the merchant or the customer is actually trying to transact. And let's talk about the reverse leg. Something goes wrong, and are we actually getting this seamlessly refunded? For example, let us say that there is an order cancellation that is happening, or there is a particular transaction that has to be now refunded, and if the merchant feels that it has to be done, is that happening on time? How's the reverse leg working? What percentage of the refunds are happening seamlessly versus what percentage of the refunds are getting stuck in the pipeline? How are we actually pushing them to the end terminal state? How are we actually communicating in the due course to the merchants and customers? How are we actually solving them? These are the things that need to be actually measured, right? And in some B2B kind of environments, specifically in the fintech and in the e-commerce space as well, is basically to check, are the settlements happening on time? Are the merchants who are actually collaborating with us feeling really great and nice about, coming to us? And if they are not feeling nice about coming to us, then there's something which needs to be corrected as well, right? And once we've taken care of these things, right, then it's about adoption rate, right? So let us say that there is a new feature that you've added into your system or into your app or into your website. What is the adoption at which you're seeing that this feature has been accepted by your users? Or have you just ignored it completely? You've just added it, nobody's using it, and it is just there. Then you need to keep constantly measuring that adoption rate. Look at re-engineering, look at speaking to your merchants, your customers, trying to get better insights, and try to actually fine tune your product feature and stuff like that. Now let's talk about the ones that come as an unhappy flow. It's got stuck, and merchants and customers are reaching out to are trying to reach out to the customer success or the customer experience team. How soon are we actually kind of responding to them? How easy are we making them to connect with us? These are things that need to be measured as well. The moment the user is able to connect and able to get some kind of a response, he feels a bit you know uh, relaxed, and the anxiety levels actually come down. But if he has to stay on the line waiting to get connected to somebody, he's put a chat, and nobody's actually responding on the side. The anxiety levels continue to increase, and he's got the fear that he's going to lose his money. He's got the fear that there's somebody who's not listening to him, and his query may go unresolved. Now once we're able to connect, then it's about how soon are we able to resolve it. The percentage of queries that are getting resolved on time, that's very important to be actually tracked. And then once these are resolved, it's not about just giving a resolution and just coming out, right? You're actually interacting with a human being on the other side. What is the quality of interaction? What is the percentage of quality that you're able to meet there? Is it as per the desired levels, you're meeting a 90% plus or a 95% plus, which is good? Or are your agents, are your representatives giving a substandard quality? That needs to be checked. Finally, it's the CSAT rates, the NPS scores. These are all well known in the market. I don't want to spend time here and discussing about it, but just to quickly summarize, right? I mean, what I'm trying to tell the audience is, hey, you know what? It's high time that the organizations actually start looking at experience holistically, and just not when an unhappy flow occurs and the merchant and the customer reaches out to the customer experience teams. That's it from my side, Ekta. Yeah.
Thank you. So, of course, we have a hard stop kind, but we can extend a little more. We can, Mr. Prashant, if quickly you want to share some points on this.
Yes, I think Fasi kind of mainly touched upon a lot of things. Uh, a very simple thing I just wanted to kind of cover, right? If you look at the end result at the service side, I mean, you know the various leads that are causing that, right? I mean, say, and as you mentioned about, settlements not happening and different things, right? For example, from a fintech perspective. Now, if the whole funnel, if that is being analyzed, that what are the steps towards reaching there, and what are the different touch points where the users, the customers might have issues. If those funnels are defined well, they are being measured properly, and proactively, right? That I think really ensures, that we are on top of things always, and not waiting for customers to kind of report issues, right? I think that is very important, and some of these critical matrices are also to be set. So one of the things that we do is we have a kind of a live operations team which runs 24/7, and we have defined some very key P0 metrics. And the definition of a P0 metric is, if that is going down, the respective owner has to be woken up in the middle of the night
Mm.
and be resolved within half an hour, right? That is a clear definition. So there are very few things. It's not like a barrage of things, right? For anything like somebody wants to offload their metrics, monitoring to someone, very specific 20, 30 metrics across all the teams, right? Be it business, marketing, product, critical metrics which affects the business. Those are being monitored. And what we've also done is we have added automated anomaly detection to that, right? So while we have dashboards to look at things, we also have automated anomaly detection to be able to identify if there are, variances. And accordingly, there is a team member who is able to analyze quickly, get in the right person to be able to get it solved, right? When you start with this, then you'll have instances where you'll have fewer complaints and you'll solve things more proactively. And in the longer run, you will see that measurement, right? And the other part is to also being more, I would say, proactive in communication. So most of the things that a lot of brands miss out is that, see, issues will happen, right? We are all working in tech product companies, issues will happen. The idea is up to own up to it. If there's a problem, talk about it, send an emailer, send an SMS, acknowledge the issue, and then really work towards, how you can solve it in the longer run. I think these are the two mantras that we should really, focus on to be able to consistently keep doing better. Yeah, that's all from my side.
Thank you, Prashant. So, uh, okay. So Veera is not here, so we have to skip that question. Bhavesh, do you want to add something on role of back office automation in customer service or something? Bhavesh, you want to
Yeah,
add?
I think, yeah, I think very good insights, right from what Goldie said. And I think Fuzzy, what he said was, I'm sure, was top on his mind. Uptime is a very key metrics. And I've
Yeah.
seen that specifically fintech companies. I just want to put two, three things, and I think we can probably wrap it up after that. No
Yes.
need to take that last question. So I think, what Goldie mentioned about it when the pandemic started, I think we have seen the PS, especially the PSU banks, they have not been allowing the agents to work from home. There are so many e-commerce companies, retail companies, they were getting huge call volumes. And I have seen people like waiting for 1 hour, 2 hours in queue, whether it is a retail customer or even a service desk. That is where the automation whole thing kick-started. And I'm personally working with many customers, you know the things like speech bot, chat bot, you know you know the customers are saying, I don't want anybody to call me. Can I preempt and call him proactively to solve his problem? That is where all the discussions are happening. And there are some of these large wallet companies where we are directly working. The key metrics was, I don't want him to call me. If there is a problem, I should call him first before he even calls me and tell him what is happening. Notify him, keep him updated. So I think that is where, from a customer service angle and from a web perspective, a lot of these things are falling in place. There are many things, many more things happening, but I think we are a large panel, and I'm personally very satisfied. I've learned a lot of things, from digit insurance, cash free. I think credit monthly, all of them, really good
Yeah,
insights,
you know
and it's
what,
a good level
Bhavesh,
for us.
you
Yeah,
always have the liberty to pick on the how side of it, and we only speak of what needs to be done, right?
yeah.
so, so nice to hear, good.
Mm.
And Ashdeep, I think there are a few good things that you touched upon. I really was impressed with the AI capability of.
Hmm.
I'm not too sure if it is an AI capability, but though getting a moving image just in front of the screen and blowing that screen up, unlike the conventional ones where you have it on the right hand side top corner, or and there's a box there and your image is seen. This looks more realistic, and it looks like you're actually in a boardroom standing there in front of the screen. So that's nice.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Fazil.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Bhavesh, I think we should be on a closure now.
Yeah.
So, on this note, of course, we had, as Bhavesh mentioned, we had a huge panel and interesting insights coming from all the ends. So, on this note, I would like to thank all the thought leaders and our audience also who had joined and taken out a precious time on Friday noon. Not missing our partner Avaya, always supporting us and sharing interesting insights on the subject. I hope you all had a great session. We shall be sharing the video as well with you, and also we would be happy to reconnect you with the Avaya team for one-on-one brainstorm sessions. So I would be reaching out to everyone on personally on this note. So thank you everyone. Stay
Thanks,
safe
Ekta.
and have
Thanks,
a
Ekta, for
wonderful
this
Thank you.
opportunity and
Bye
bringing
bye.
Thank you all.
uh,
Thank
Thank
Thanks,
you
you.
all for
Ekta.
Thank you,
joining.
Thanks,
everyone.
everybody.
Bye.
take care. Bye bye.
Bye.